Shadowverse. Swarm. Dot. 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 The city hums with the pulse of evening. Neon lights flicker on wet pavement, and the air is thick with the scent of rain and street food. Blaze walks beside Jane, her laughter ringing out as he spins a story about their first disastrous attempt at homemade sushi. "You're never living that down," Jane teases, nudging him with her elbow. "I still have nightmares about the rice glue." Blaze grins, slipping his hand into hers. "I promise, next time, I'll stick to reservations." They pause at a crosswalk, the world around them alive and oblivious. Taxis blur past, a busker strums a guitar, and a child tugs at his mother's sleeve, pointing at a window display of glowing toys. Then, the air changes. It's subtle at first, a prickling at the back of Blaze's neck, a hush that falls too quickly. He glances up. The sky is a shifting canvas of clouds, but something moves against the current, a shadow that multiplies, divides, and grows. Jane frowns. "Do you hear that? Like buzzing?" Blaze's senses sharpen, his vision narrowing to a pinpoint. The sound is there, high, electric. It grows into a swarm, a cloud of tiny machines descending with insect precision. Each drone is the size of a fist, matte black, faceted like a beetle's shell. People notice now, heads tilt, phones lift, confusion ripples through the crowd. "Is this some kind of stunt?" someone calls out. Blaze pulls Jane closer. "Stay behind me," he whispers, voice tight. The drones split, fanning out in impossible synchrony. They hover, scanning faces with cold, blue light. Blaze sees the lenses whir, the micro antennae twitch, and the faint shimmer of sensors tasting the air. A woman screams. The first explosion is sharp, surgical, a shaped charge detonating against the glass of a cafe. In an instant, the window is gone, replaced by a blossom of flame and shards. The drones move as one, targeting clusters of people, their charges detonating with horrifying precision. Each blast is contained, directional, designed to kill without collateral. Panic erupts, sirens wail, people scatter, but the drones are relentless, tracking, scanning, selecting. Blaze's heart hammers. He sees the pattern, their intelligence, their purpose. No signals, no controllers. They hunt by sight, by sound. Blaze. Jane gasps, clutching his arm. "What are they? What do we do?" He meets her eyes, his own glowing with a light he's kept hidden for years. "We run." And then, he glances at the swarm, calculating. "I fight." A drone darts toward them, its charge primed. Blaze moves faster than thought, his body blurring as he sweeps Jane behind a pillar. The drone explodes against the concrete, shattering the air. Jane stares at him, wide-eyed. "Thank you." "No time," Blaze says, voice low. "Stay here. Don't move." He steps into the open, the city a war zone of fire and shrieking metal. The drones sense him, their sensors twitching, and in that instant, Blaze lets go. His skin crackles with energy, his eyes burn with purpose. He leaps, impossibly high, grabbing a drone midair and crushing it in his fist. Another swerves, and he hurls the wreckage like a missile, knocking two more from the sky. But for every drone he destroys, 100 remain, their blue lights cold and unfeeling. They adapt, recalibrate, and focus on him. Blaze grins, wild and defiant. "Come on then," he growls, the city burning around him. "Let's see what you've got." In every major city across the world, the swarms descend, droning, relentless, and unstoppable. Dot. Dot. The world buzzes in chaos, a symphony of screams, fire, and shattering glass. Blaze grabs Jane's hand, his grip unyielding as they dart through the panicked crowd, weaving between overturned tables and bodies. The drones swarm overhead, their blue lights flickering like malevolent stars. "In here," Blaze shouts, spotting a service hatch half hidden behind a dumpster. He wrenches it open with a single, superhuman twist. The metal groans, and the stench of the city's underbelly rushes out. Jane hesitates, but Blaze is already lowering her inside. Go, Jane, now. She slides into the darkness, and Blaze follows, slamming the hatch shut just as a drone slams into it with a metallic shriek. He jams a broken pipe through the handle, buying them precious seconds. Below, the tunnel is pitch black, the only light a faint glow from Jane's phone. 3 others huddle in the shadows, a young man with a bleeding arm and a middle-aged woman clutching a terrified child. Are you with us? The woman stammers, eyes wide. Blaze nods, scanning their faces. We're together now, keep moving. The tunnel stretches ahead, a labyrinth of pipes and dripping water. Blaze leads, his senses stretched to the limit. Every clang above, every echo, could be another drone finding its way in. Behind them, the hatch rattles, then buckles. The drones are relentless, their tiny manipulators whirring as they probe the seams. We need to keep moving, Blaze urges, voice low. They'll get through eventually. They hurry deeper, splashing through ankle-deep water. The child whimpers, and Jane squeezes her hand. It's okay, sweetheart, Jane whispers. We're safe for now. A distant explosive pop echoes down the tunnel, a bright orange jet piercing through the barrier, the hatch giving way as a few more go off. Blue lights flicker in the darkness as the first drones squeeze through, their formations restricted by the narrow space. Go, Blaze urges, shoving the survivors ahead. They reach a heavy maintenance door, the young man fumbling with the wheel, hands slick with blood. Let me, Blaze says, spinning it with effortless strength. The door creaks open, and they tumble inside. Blaze slams it shut, bracing his shoulder against it as the drones batter the other side. He spots a steel bar and wedges it through the handles. The door shudders, but holds. The tunnels beyond twist and branch, a maze of forgotten passages. They run, hearts pounding, the distant whine of drones echoing behind them. At every turn, Blaze searches for new barriers, another hatch, a rusted gate, a pile of debris to slow their pursuers. Dot. 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 Each time, the drones find a way, chewing through metal with shaped charges, forcing the survivors deeper into the city's bowels. Dot. Dot. They pause in a junction, breathless. How are they finding us? The woman asks, voice trembling. Blaze listens, really listens. He can hear the faintest whir of rotors, the click of sensors. They're tracking us. Sound, heat, maybe even our heartbeats. We have to be quiet, and fast. Jane squeezes his hand. We'll make it, Blaze. I trust you. He smiles, but his eyes are hard. Stay close, I'll clear the way. They press on, deeper and deeper, the city above growing quiet. The drones close behind them, relentless, tireless, inhuman. But Blaze keeps the group one step ahead, stronger, and more determined than ever. Dot. Dot. The tunnels vibrate with the sound of pursuit. The survivors stumble through a final, reinforced hatch, cold steel, thick with decades of rust, the last barrier between them and the relentless swarm. Blaze slams it shut, bracing his body against the metal, muscles straining. On the far side, the drones gather, their blue eyes burning in the dark. For a moment, there's only the whir of rotors and the click of servos, then a new sound, a sharp, electric whine as the drones prime their charges. Jane's voice is a whisper behind him. Blaze. What are they doing? He doesn't answer. He listens as the drones extend tiny arms, each one holding a shaped charge, a dull, copper cone glinting in the tunnel's gloom. The charges ignite with a flash and a thunderclap. A jet of molten copper, liquefied and compressed by the explosion, punches out at 20,000 feet per second. The effect is surgical, terrifying. The copper jet slices through the steel door like a hot knife through butter, sending a spray of sparks and vaporized metal into the air. The penetrative force is immense. Steel bubbles and peels away, glowing orange at the edges, the air thick with the stench of scorched metal. Blaze ducks as another jet lances through, missing him by inches. The copper stream carves a smoking groove in the wall behind, the heat blistering his skin. He grits his teeth, throwing his weight against the door as more charges detonate, each one a miniature thunderbolt. Then, one finds its mark. A copper jet bursts through, tearing a fist-sized hole in the door. Jane cries out, clutching her side as blood wells between her fingers. The world narrows to her scream, the acrid tang of burning metal, the relentless pounding of the drones on the other side. No, Blaze shouts, catching her as she slumps. He tears a strip from his shirt, pressing it to the wound. Jane's breath is ragged, but she's alive, tougher than an ordinary human, much like Blaze. The drones, so close now that their lights spill through the holes in the door, suddenly freeze. Their rotors whine, their sensors flicker, and then, without warning, they retreat. The swarm pulls back, vanishing into the darkness, leaving only silence and the stink of copper and fear. Blaze doesn't wait to question it. He scoops Jane into his arms, nodding to the others. We're moving, now. They make their way upward, following the maze of tunnels to a maintenance ladder. Blaze climbs first, Jane clinging to his back, her blood wetting his shirt. The others follow, silent and shaken. The hatch above opens with a groan as they emerge into a world transformed. The city unrecognizable. Where once there were bustling streets, there are now craters and twisted wreckage. Cars are overturned, their bodies riddled with meat, circular holes, each the mark of a shaped charge. Buildings are gutted, windows shattered, steel beams sliced cleanly through as if by a surgeon's hand. Fires smolder in the ruins, casting flickering light on the devastation. Bodies lie everywhere, some sprawled where they fell, others huddled together in final embraces. The air is thick with the metallic tang of blood and the acrid smoke of burning plastic. The silence is complete, broken only by the distant crackle of flames and the occasional groan of collapsing structures. Jane stirs on his back, her eyes wide with horror. Oh my God, Blaze, what happened? He sets her gently on the ground, wrapping his arms around her as she weeps. The other survivors stand in stunned silence, faces pale, eyes hollow. Blaze surveys the carnage. The city, his city, is dead. The only movement is the drifting ash, the flutter of torn posters, and the distant, ghostly hum of retreating drones. He kneels beside Jane, pressing his forehead to hers. We survived, he whispers, voice raw. We're still here. But as he looks out over the ruined streets, Blaze knows this is only the beginning. The world has changed forever, and whatever force unleashed the drones is far from finished. Above, the sky is empty, no sign of the swarm, only the echo of their violence lingering in the air. Blaze takes Jane's hand, helping her to her feet. Together, with the other survivors, they step into the silent aftermath, the weight of the dead city pressing in from all sides. And somewhere, unseen, the drones wait. Dot. Dot. Blaze and Jane move slowly through the ruined streets, the others trailing behind, each step heavy with shock and grief. The city is a graveyard. Cars burned out, storefronts gutted, the skyline jagged with collapsed steel and shattered glass. The survivors pick their way through the wreckage, eyes wide and haunted, the silence pressing in on all sides. But then, from the scattered clusters of bodies, the silence breaks. A faint whimper rises from a mound of debris near a toppled bus. Another, sharper cry echoes from beneath the collapsed awning. Blaze stops, heart pounding, and listens. The others freeze, hope and dread warring on their faces. A small hand pushes out from beneath a tangle of arms. A boy, no older than 6, crawls free, his face streaked with grime and tears. He looks around, dazed, and begins to cry, loud, ragged sobs that cut through the hush. All at once, the city stirs. Bodies shift as children wriggle out from beneath them, tiny forms emerging from the shadows, crawling from under the protective embrace of parents, siblings. Strangers who shielded them from the worst of the attack. Some are silent, eyes wide and unblinking, others wail, calling for mothers and fathers who will never answer. Jane gasps, pressing a trembling hand to her mouth. Blaze. Look. He moves forward, kneeling beside the first boy. "Hey, buddy," he says softly, voice gentle despite the ache in his chest. "You're safe now, we're here." The boy clings to him, sobbing into Blaze's shoulder. All around, the survivors gather the children, comforting them as best they can. A girl with tangled hair crawls from under a shattered bench, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Two siblings, twins maybe, emerge from beneath a pile of coats, holding hands so tightly their knuckles are white. The cries grow, filling the empty city with a chorus of grief and survival. The children are everywhere, dozens, maybe hundreds, spared by luck, instinct, or the desperate sacrifice of those who shielded them. Jane kneels beside a little girl, brushing glass from her hair. "It's okay," she whispers, wrapping the child in her arms. "You're safe. We've got you." Blaze looks around, his heart breaking and swelling at once. The city is wounded, scarred beyond recognition, but here, amid the devastation, life endures. The children cling to the survivors, to each other, their cries a fragile thread of hope in a world turned upside down. He stands, lifting the boy into his arms. "We need to find shelter," he says, voice steady. "Somewhere safe, somewhere we can take care of them." The survivors nod, gathering the children, forming a ragged procession through the ruined streets. The city is silent but for the sound of their footsteps and the cries of the newly found. As they move forward, Blaze glances at Jane, her face streaked with tears, her arms full of trembling children. She meets his gaze, and in her eyes he sees the same fierce determination burning in his own. They will protect these children. They will rebuild, somehow, from the ashes. And as the sun rises over the broken city, the survivors walk on, together, carrying the future in their arms. Dot. 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 A week passes. The world has changed, scarred and raw, but not defeated. Blaze stands atop the shell of a parking garage, overlooking the city's battered heart. The skyline is jagged, punctuated by the skeletal remains of buildings. Smoke still curls from distant fires, but the streets below are no longer empty. Survivors move in careful clusters, sharing food, tending wounds, and searching the ruins for anyone left alive. The children rescued that first day huddled together in makeshift shelters, blankets draped over benches, cardboard and tarps forming fragile walls. Jane moves among them, her side bandaged, her face tired but resolute. She reads to them from a battered storybook, her voice a steady anchor in the chaos. Radios crackle with news from beyond the city. Blaze listens as reporters, their voices strained but determined, recount the events that shattered the world. An estimated 500,000 drones in every major population center. Shaped charges, copper jets, surgical precision. No known signal, no claim of responsibility. The largest loss of civilian life in recorded history. But now, the tone is different. The world is fighting back. Emergency broadcasts coordinate relief efforts. Military patrols sweep the streets, wary of any lingering drones. Scientists and engineers pore over the wreckage, desperate for answers. Yet the threat is not gone. Reports trickle in. Small towns, isolated farms, rural crossroads. Drones, sometimes a handful, sometimes dozens, appearing without warning. They strike with the same cold efficiency, targeting gatherings, vehicles, even lone travelers. The attacks are less frequent, less overwhelming, but no less terrifying. A voice on the radio, trembling but resolute. They came at dawn, only 5 this time, but they went straight for the schoolhouse. We lost 3, but the rest of us fought them off with hunting rifles and axes. We're not helpless, we're learning. Blaze turns from the radio as Jane approaches, a little girl clinging to her hand. "How's everyone?" he asks, voice low. Jane manages a tired smile. "Better. The fever's down in most of them. The food trucks came this morning, real bread, Blaze. The kids thought it was a miracle." He kneels, ruffling the girl's hair. "You're a tough one, aren't you?" She nods, solemn-eyed. Are the bad bugs coming back? Blaze glances at Jane, then back at the child. We don't know, but we're ready for them this time. Over the next days, the city's survivors organize. Barricades go up at every intersection. Volunteers patrol the streets, eyes sharp for the glint of black metal in the sky. Engineers repurpose old tech, radio jammers, thermal blankets, even mirrors, to confuse and mislead the drones. The world mourns, but it also adapts. Rural communities form watch groups, sharing information and resources. When drones strike, the survivors fight back, sometimes with guns, sometimes with fire, sometimes with nothing but courage and desperation. Dot. The eighth night, Blaze and Jane sit together on the roof, watching the stars emerge above the ruined city. The children sleep in clusters below, their dreams haunted but hopeful. Jane leans against Blaze, her voice soft. Do you think we'll ever know who did this? Why? Blaze looks out over the darkened city, his jaw set. Maybe, maybe not, but we'll be ready. For whatever comes next. And as the world recovers, scarred but unbroken, the survivors hold fast to each other, determined to endure. The drones may return, the attacks may never truly end. But humanity, wounded, grieving, and fierce, refuses to surrender.